Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Got all kinds of a nice day going on here. I'm just trying to finish up a few things and get them placed properly and, you know, kind of have my act together a little bit on this stuff so I can make some decent decisions about it. And to that end, I have I believe it's the 1984 200 ES, and here she is. And I don't know, could you guys see that tag down there? If not, take my word for it, it's there you go, you can see that. So you guys know I bought this at the Rhinebeck car show. It was a $100 deal, and you know, I just figured there'd be enough parts there for it to be worth $100. I mean, I looked it over, and I had mentioned the front forks are welded, but they're pretty straight, and you know, the foot pegs aren't bent. So I was really hoping for the best for this motor. And let me just quickly go through the troubleshooting and I'll tell you guys what I found. What I did first, I smashed a proper carburetor onto it. It had a spark, though it was weak on the OEM ignition system. So I tried to start it up on the OEM ignition system. Anyway, one step before that, I did a quick compression check on it. It came in wet around 30. And dry, it came in at about 90. So anyway, next thing I did was I tried to fire it up, and I got nothing. Not a sneeze, not a fart, not a hiccup, not a belch, nothing. And that's beginning to point you at a valve type of problem. And as a matter of fact, kind of an intake valve problem. I mean, I got nothing. I tried starting fluid, I tried everything, and I got nothing. Next thing I tried to do is time it up, and top dead center for the piston is here, but I needed to get into here to see where the timing was, to see if it jumped time and all. And I managed to get one screw out with a lot of fussing about, and if you see this other one where there's stuff broken in it, sometimes Harbor Freight tools are not the best. So I broke those two. Then I used this thing with this bit on it, and I managed to get one of them out, and then the bit broke off in there, and I can't get the rest of the bit out of there, so for the time being, the cover is going to have to stay put. I did spray it, so maybe it'll loosen up eventually. I turned this around a couple of times, and I turned it to the spot where it's really easy. And that's normally when there's no pressure on the cam, right? Because if there was pressure on the cam from trying to open the valves, it would feed back through the timing chain, and I would feel it here. So anyway, and what I did was I then put my leak back checker on it to see if I in fact do have a intake valve problem, and I'm going to let you guys listen. I mean, I basically can't hold any back pressure, and if you listen, you guys hear that? Valve's supposed to be closed. I also, just in case, I was 180 out, I also, you know, turned the flywheel around, and turns out it looks like my intake valve took a hit. If I had to guess, given that this rubber thing is still on here, and it looks really primo, there's no scars on this or anything, I'm thinking that the timing chain was never adjusted. It jumped time, and it hit the intake valve. The person I bought this for told me that they towed it around and they got it to start that way. I don't know. Maybe if you were towing it at 35 miles per hour, considering how bad it's leaking out that intake valve, maybe it would not really run, but just kind of putt and maintain itself. I don't think it would run with enough horsepower to pull the thing. I don't think it would run at all. I think he was selling me a winning horse story there, or biggest fish story. So it appears as if this engine is well, it appears as if the head is probably shot. If I had to guess, the piston and the bore are probably okay, though it wouldn't hurt to put a set of rings into it. Problem with something like this, when you get it, right, you take it home, and I said you gotta buy them at the right price, because let's say it's like the one that was at the auction, right? That wasn't a bad looking ATC 200, right? But let's say, I mean, you couldn't test the recoil, right? You couldn't pull the string. It was missing the carburetor. So let's say you fix the recoil start on it and you put a carburetor on it, right? That thing, I jumped out at 180, so it would have cost me, 190, 200 by the time I chased everybody else out, right? Let's say I put 200 out into it. The recoil, the string was there, so let's assume it was complete. All it needed was a spring. There's $20. The carburetor and the throttle, that's takes you up another 40, so you got $60 into it. Plus, let's say I paid 200 for it. Now I got 260 into it. If I find out the head is shot, in my case, I can dig up another head out of my hoard for it. But if you're your common person and you got to go pay another $100 for the head, so you smash your head into it, then you discover it's burning oil like no tomorrow. And by the way, if it jumped time, you really should throw a timing chain into it, right? And a few of those other things. Suddenly, you're on your way to $500 on a quad that's in okay condition, that you could buy for $500 running, that you don't have to do any work on, and you could adjust your timing chain a few times and keep it in running condition, right? You don't have to completely tear it apart. That's kind of why I jumped out, as it was approaching 200. I didn't need it, first of all, and secondly, it was starting to get into a range where I'm like, what do I have here? I'm not trashing the auction. I'm not trashing it at all. But I find, or have found, and spoke to other people who bought stuff there, that stuff that goes there, typically it's stuff that people don't want to ever see again. They don't want to spend any money on. They don't want to put it in the paper and have somebody know where their address is, so that if you get upset and bring it back and start yelling at them. My buddy Bill is just going through this with a couple of motors he sold. I bought this thing. I paid $50 for it. The rear end out of it is worth the $50 to me. The tires are worth the $50 to me. So, it's worth $100 to me. About the engine, it might be alive. It might not. If it is, that's another couple $100 in my direction. About the starter, if the starter generator is alive, that's another $50 in my direction, right? And I'm doing better now, not worse. With that one, a 200 breaking $200. And once again, I didn't know the bidding was I was gonna get it for $200. I could have worked my way much above that. So, cautionary tale. Anyway, so basically, what am I going to do? I wanted to finish this so I could get it out of this driveway, off this driveway. I got to get the golf cart off this driveway. I got to get my truck moved. I got to get the backhoe loader out of here because I have a few things to lift up and load on my truck. I got a, how's that for, how much crap could you put on a backhoe loader? I got a deal cooking for this weekend. I got to run down to Pennsylvania. Looks like I'm going to be doing it by myself. My son's coming up to help the wife with the garden, and also I'm going to just make that run myself. So a Pennsylvania run. I'm trading the military generator for an ATC. We'll see. Hopefully that deal closes, and I run that deal this weekend. So that'll be keeping me tied up a little bit. This is kind of my time of year when I bring in a lot of things. And some of you guys who are anti-hoarding would probably be saying, "Oh my God, stop bringing in stuff." And you may be right. But this is kind of the time of year where I bring in things. After the run this weekend, I got the Memorial Day Stormville, which is normally, I normally just buy supplies at that market. I rarely get anything cool to play with. And then after that I have the Stormville in June is a big one for me. Then I only have one big one before the end of the year. So this is the time when I buy. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. And remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.